Alright everybody, hi, it's me, Fancy Jen Cosplay, or just Jen. I got a request to do a tutorial for my Ripley's Alien Stomper shoes. These are a replica from the Aliens movie, of the Reeboks that they put out when the movie came out, and then Ripley wears in the film. You can buy them. They've re-released them a couple times, but on eBay they're about $1,500. So not what I was willing to spend. So I decided I would take a crack at making my own. It was actually really cheap. Took a little bit of engineering, so to speak, but they're not the sturdiest things in the world. You're not actually going to be running around spaceships in these things. They're just made out of craft foam and contact cement and things like that. But they look pretty good, pretty accurate to the movie. So I just thought I'd go ahead and let you guys know how I made them. First, I started with a basic kind of duct tape pattern. What you would do, I'll kind of make, rather than just wrapping myself in tape it again, I was just going to show you the idea. I put the shoes on my foot. And, well, actually, I think I did this on my husband's foot because we wear the same size shoe. But if you got somebody that you know that wears the same size, it's much easier to draw things on them than it is yourself. So, but have somebody put on the shoe that you're going to use. In this case, I used a basic white Adidas, actually, skater shoe. It's the kind that has the black stripes on the side. See if you can kind of, it's an Adidas cosplaying as a Reebok. And so you put on the shoe, and then you're going to want to wrap your foot up to about mid-calf with something that is going to stick to the tape, but not to yourself. So this is a pattern I actually use for a different costume. I don't have the one I made for these anymore because I made these 2 or 3 years ago. But this, what time I did aluminum foil. You can also use like paper towels or saran wrap. But then you cover over the top of the base, you cover in tape. So you can use painter's tape. My favorite is actually the white duct tape. It's a little bit more sturdy and more flexible, and you can write on it. So it really helps when you're trying to figure out, especially with these, we're trying to figure out where all the different pieces of shoe are going to go. So I made basically wrapped my husband's foot in the duct tape, and then I kind of traced out while he was wearing it, what would be a good height based on the pictures, how tall it was going to need to be, where on the shoe was this tongue going to go, because I needed to cover those black stripes, but I also wanted it to cover the laces, because I think the original show did not have laces. But so I kind of did a quick sketch of where the shoe was going to be, like what the different pieces were going to go, and then we cut it off of him, and I was able to take that. You kind of keep the basic shape of foot and so on, and then you can trace it onto paper. So these are the few pieces I still had. I threw them in all my pattern pieces in a bag. These are the ones that I could still find from the Alien Stompers. But here you can see this is the one where it's the tongue over the top of the shoe where the Reebok logo goes. So it went from here and over to the inside. This one had to kind of think of in layers, because we've got the base white layer, which is like the main structure, but then we also have the gray color. So I did one big piece with the white, and then I cut away the top, and then this became the piece for the gray. And then the same thing I did here at the bottom. So this one is cut up into more pieces because there's more colors involved. So the biggest piece, the base that does the entire around the back of the shoe is actually the red. So the whole thing here, it's hard to see on the table or on their tape, but it's like a big, just a big kind of crescent sort of shape, or I don't know what you call that, but it's that whole piece was cut out in red. Then the second layer, I didn't want to do like 3 layers of craft foam for the white and the gray. I thought that would get too bulky, so I cut out this middle piece to be the gray here on the back, and then the side pieces are right here, are the little bits that I did in white. It's not lining up in particular, but it's hard to hold this. Anyway, if you can see, I've got it also labeled on here. This is my outside piece, and this is my inside piece. So this one actually goes here on the outside of the shoe, and then this one goes on the inside of the shoe. That way, they're a little slightly different based on where your foot goes. And then I just cut out one like this, and then you flip it over and cut out another one. You want the opposite, you want like the reflection. So you flip all your pattern pieces over and cut out the one for your other shoe. So the tongue piece I did as well. I think I did that separately. And I'll go into all these little bits and pieces later. This was kind of a go as I figured it out as I went kind of project, because craft foam doesn't quite bend like leather would. Maybe if I redid this, I would splurge on some actual leather, so it would be more bendable and sturdy. But craft foam's, of course, the cheapest way to go is, I did like 3 sheets of craft foam, and I think they're maybe $1 a piece. So, like when I did the tongue, it has these really cool like striations on it. See if I can get it closer to the camera so you can see. But that, I actually just sewed it. I put it through the sewing machine and sewed straight lines with black thread across it. So I think that's part of the reason this turned out so well, is because I wasn't trying to like draw it on with a baby Sharpie or anything. I just put it right through the sewing machine. Same thing with these other pieces, where I could, to give it the lines and everything like it would on the real shoe, I just put it through the sewing machine. And it helps. I did glue the layers as well. Like around the back in here, that would all come apart if I had it. But so I put a little bit of glue in the middle, and then I sewed around the edges where the sewing on the actual shoe would go. And that way I don't gum up the needle. So you don't want glue where you're going to sew. This big round part on the back, I did the sewing there too, around the edge before I glued it to the shoe. So it was a nice flat crescent shape, and I did the sewing there. Same thing around these edges. Did the sewing just like it is on the real shoe, which is nice. They have those good product pictures on the internet for those $1,500 shoes, so I was able to get real good, nice close-ups of what they're supposed to look like. Because I think what ideally would have worked out is if I had like the actual white high tops that I could have glued this all to, but I guess those are back in style. So the ones that I could find were like brand new ones that were, $60, $70. So I didn't want to spend all that money on a brand new pair of shoes I was going to kind of destroy. So I just kept with the basic white old sneaker I'd had for years and years. You can tell they've been worn a lot. And so when it came to the construction of the ankle part, this is the part where I would like to redo and kind of figure out a better way to do this. See if I can roll this tongue out of the way. Kind of get him out of the way. But I took a piece. I had a hard time figuring out how I was going to get this so I could get my ankle to still bend, because this is pretty high up on your leg. You need to be able to flex and point your foot. So this could not be like one solid piece connected to here. Not with craft foam at least. So I use Velcro. So there's Velcro with contact cement on here. And then there's a piece that I glued straight to the back of the foot of the shoe. And then I glued elastic here. So, and it's also sewn to the back of this ankle piece. So when I bend and flex my foot, it has a little bit of bend right here and give, so that I can move around and not worry about anything ripping and things like that. I also happen to have like huge calves. I blame my father for giving me huge calves, but I had to end up doing a slit back here with a little bit of a give on this with white elastic. So there's a little bit of a dart here with some give, because whenever I point and flex my foot, this was getting super tight and like ripping my Velcro off and things in the front. So I had to adjust to kind of add that to the back, which it doesn't look too bad. It looks kind of like something you would see on a shoe. So my elastic is kind of really dark right here because the stark whiteness was looking bad, so I tried to weather it and it soaked up the paint and everything really well. So you can see that there. But for the Reebok labels, these are 3D printed. So I have a friend who knows how to do 3D modeling and everything, and so he was able to just basically find the Reebok logo, and then he raised it up a little bit, like it's just a tiny bit raised. He printed out 4 of them for me, and then I was able to heat form it. They were just out of white. So I heat formed these 2 around the front of the shoe, because those they're not flat right here. They're kind of in a curve on the strap there. So I heat formed those, and I just used Sharpie to color it. So I mean, from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, if we get real close, you guys are gonna see my bad Sharpie business, because it's just like a gray Sharpie and a red Sharpie. But and then I used a little bit for the weathering. It's just a little bit of black paint and water that I splashed around on it. I think I used some brown too, just to kind of mimic some dirt, so you guys can see, like, my shoes were already super beat up, but this was stark white brand new craft foam. So Ripley would not have brand new clean sparkling shoes on LV426. So we had to make them up a little grungy looking. So some kind of, you can see where it's like smudges of dirt and things. That's just some watered down acrylic paint in kind of a really watered down black with a little bit of brown in it. I have had a lot of trouble with this tongue. Just to let you know, when I walk, the tongue really wants to go like off to the side. It doesn't like to stay up front where it's supposed to be. So that's why there's extra Velcro here on the inside. And that yellow is the contact cement. I had to add little extra Velcros here so I can keep the tongue up front and center where it's supposed to be. So I do a little bit of a, you can hear Velcros going whenever I walk around, but yeah, overall it works. It's much cheaper and easier, well, at least much cheaper than paying $1,500 for a pair of alien stompers. So I hope that kind of answers your questions. There is another piece over here that hides the black stripes. My Velcro is getting kind of worn out. I've worn these to a photo shoot and a convention, so 2 conventions. So they've held up pretty good. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I hope that answers it, and I'll put a link below to my friend who does the 3D printing, so if you want to get some of these labels, I can put his business, contact information so you can get those. And thank you very much for watching. This is my first tutorial, so yay!